Jaami because he knows a lot of my story, my struggle. Torres does a little bit less. Our other guy that was gone is gone right now. Can't really help us with this conversation. Brother Leon, who I learned a lot from, and actually Moose, who happens to be teaching right now, so he can't come in. But I was compelled to reach out to Brother Jaami, just in general. We were talking about some other things, and then I got a phone call, and I say I think people sometimes when they have proximity think that it gives them a closer. Appreciate Marcos. I hope the guy's a child support issue. Yeah, that's right, Marco. That's right. You watched me before I had the first set of that whole set of dismissals. I forgot we were walking together then, Marco. It's been so long. And then when things came back, I'm trying to explain to people what came back with me has nothing to do with child support. It may not even have anything to do with that case that you were working on, trying to get was it Larry Hoover we were working on his? I helped you with. We were in the law library looking up stuff to help deal with the case with Larry Hoover, I believe the case was, right, Marco? Because you were trying to help him with his case. And we just learned so much. And I had to give shout out to everybody who works at the law library in Hillsborough County, Florida, in Tampa, because I knew nothing at all about, I actually had taken a constitutional law class in college. I've taken intro to tort. I've taken intro to criminal law. I've taken, I believe, a real estate law class or a business law class. And just so I understood the basics, okay? My background was there, academic. But when it came to dealing with the courts, I naively just felt the courts were going to function as the courts were supposed to function. I never thought that I'd have difficulty when once we read the law, and I ain't talking about just the annotated statute. When you read the statute, the black letter of the law, if the black letter of the law says this, I'm expecting everybody just to do what the law claims says it's supposed to do and move it on. In the beginning, it kind of happened a little bit, once I started changing my approach. But ultimately, what happened was I started getting pushback, but all of my pushback came after I successfully defended the case involving the perjury in an official proceeding. Because that case was so tightly tied to the properties that I acquired lawfully. And people say, why do you keep bringing this up? Because that's the case that I actually used in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. That's the case that I'm dealing with. And I'm trying to make sure that I have taken care of everything that needs to be done with regards to let's see, you cannot unmute themselves, cannot start viewing video. So they can rename themselves. Can't do that. So now everybody's good to go. So I'm waiting to see anybody who wants to call, who got the YouTube link. You can come on in, not YouTube link, the Zoom link. Brother Jaami, can you hear us where you are, Jaami? You should have gotten a link as well, Jaami, that you can hit and come on in if you're working already. That's understandable as well. But at any rate, I think that people misconstrue, or whatever you want to call it, what exactly I claim that happened with me. And the thing that I would say happened with me is my cases entailed some unique things that allowed me to get my my outcome. So the Zoom, I should probably ask Zoom user, what's your name? Uh-oh. Because you have to unmute. You have to hit, I think, the action button and then hit something and it'll allow you to unmute. So okay, if you can't do that, then it's all good. I won't worry about that part. But nevertheless, what happened in the process was that I had some unique circumstances. I apologize, people, that got me to where I was. But I tell everybody, I understood the strength of having a strong spiritual foundation while going through it. Okay, you have to unmute yourself, Jaami. Oh, hold on. Let me get you off of the phone. Now you can come on through, Jaami. So there you go. You there, Jaami?
Can you hear me?
Now we hear you
Yeah, you can
clearly.
hear me? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, everybody can. Brother Jaami, welcome to your show. I know this is like part 2 of Iron Sharpens Iron. I guess I could go ahead because it's about, can you build a community without uh, a spiritual foundation? And I wanted to talk about, what actually happened in court. And you can speak to it a little bit differently because you were actually there when I went through everything. So first of all, tell them who you are and how our relate what actually started our relationship as far as information and what have you.
Um, Me and Greg go back 10 to 15 plus years. And I passed cross through I was on a high frequency show. I think they Brother Yusufel and Greg was on there, and they said he had a different approach to the law, and they was talking about him far as statutes, case law, and they said he was operating in the public. So and I was listening to him on that particular podcast when they was viewing some shows that they had with him, segments, and he let us hear some of his court stuff, and I heard him in court as a pro se litigant in front of a judge, and the case got dismissed. So when I heard that, I said, man, I need to get in touch with this brother and connect. And I was moving in, I guess you'd call it, if they want to call it, the private direction, but I set that stuff down because I heard some real time results and stuff getting thrown out. And that's how me and Greg path crossed. I ended up reaching out to him and ended up connecting, and I started moving forward. And actually Greg's from that time period, and we're in 2026 now, I would say he done 10x. When I can just go back and look at emails from paperwork from then, things that he was doing himself, and now he leveled up, man. Leveled up 10x definitely. So that was the beginning of our path crossing.
Okay, I don't like this. I don't typically mention people's names when they're not here or whatever they're doing. Even where I know it's a part of the journey, I just typically don't do it. But this is what I'll say. Um, I wanted to talk about the part of my journey, what really happened in court, and I'm gonna tell anybody who wants to, you can actually go back to my Dropbox, and you'll see these cases that we're talking about. Where particularly one where you'll hear me in the background talk about not in the background, the judge will mention my name, and I've said nothing at all at this point. And what you'll hear happen is the judge call me up and say he'll talk to the state attorney, and the case will get dismissed. In fact, it's in my Dropbox. Maybe on another day, I'll just let you all listen if enough people ask about it, but it's in the Dropbox. Go look at it. It's one of my cases with Judge Farr. I think it's actually my first one. He'll say something like, why is Mr. Doss here? And actually, the crazy thing is, tell the people, Jaami, what happened that day that was so crazy about that court date at that time that would have been kind of strange. We found out later on. What did they do, if you remember? What did they do that was strange?
Call your name and ask you why you were there. Why were you even there?
Right.
What are you doing here?
But the crazy part is my court date was scheduled for later that day. I happened to be there at a different time because I kept paying attention to the docket. And I said this to you off air. I want you to tell people when I tell them, this thing ain't even about Greg. Greg is insignificant, I think, in the grand scheme of things. My battle is not with the people that you see in front of me, because that just is what it is. It's just whatever the law requires. It's going to be what it is. Tell them the part that they need to really think about. Jaami, the battle is what? Not with flesh and blood.
It's not against flesh and blood, but it's against principalities, powers, rulers, wickedness, and darkness and evils. So it's a spiritual battle. It's beyond the flesh. You know, we just when we can, if we pay attention, you can see characteristics, actions, and things that act out in the flesh. You know, like see if you can see, you can tell if somebody pretty much drunk. You could tell if someone's, you know, different type of characteristics that people operate in. You know, when somebody's angry, upset, these different type of actions or emotions or characteristics. So there, we get influenced by things. You know, there's strongholds. There's mental things that, you know, have our mindset locked in a certain way. You know, our perception. You say it's about clarity at the end of your thing. You know, that always what you said at the end when you get ready to closing. So having clarity, having a clear mind. So, you know, our mind can be clogged, fogged, and you know, when we not be aware of it, you know, and we can wrestle, we'll start wrestling against the very person or people that's set before us to help us, and we'll fight against that help because we've been habitually trained and we've been moving in a certain mindset. So it's easy to get upset with the messenger instead of taking applying the message, getting the application of the message down and focusing on that.
And what do you think? You think that part of it may be because I know sometimes proximity breeds. They'll say sometimes things breed contempt, and I know the Bible says something. The Bible says the prophet was not without honor except in his own hometown.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead
Yeah,
and
because
build on.
if you think about that story, um, the place where Christ was from was the least place he did the least miracles. He was able to help. So did I mean that if he operated in this, just say the fullness of God with a certain power and ability, and he's doing things places, but then you come from where you're known and you're familiar, it wasn't that he didn't have the ability or the power to reach them. It was the people receptivity. So they were cut off. It's kind of like you unplug from a power source. So they wouldn't plug into it. So he could offer it and say, hey man, here goes some power. You can plug in and get some electricity, but it's your choice. If you want to charge up your phone or your battery, or you can leave it dead.
Right, right. And I think so I tell people when they call and I could possibly try to answer, my first thing is always I want you to get an attorney. What I've learned from this being in this position, and the reason I kind of move with a sternness as well as a reluctance in many instances is because and this is not even a religious thing, because religion is a different thing altogether. I can get into
Right.
that, and oddly enough, part of my academic path included taking classes in religion. And I tell people this is a short story. I took humanities 1, got my A. Of course, that's a whole different story. Me and the professor went to take humanities 2. It was closed. So for my second humanities, I took introduction to world religion. And from there, I took a couple of other classes that were theologically based just to get some electives out the way. But that's when I started my reading. And then, of course, I got to give credit to Ikemba, who will be coming on to do an interview regarding what he was teaching at UCC and some of this information that so many people seem to still be running around with, but nobody's showing us any proof of its effectiveness. And I'm not going to get in. I don't want to get in too deeply to that, but that's kind of how I got into the thing about the spiritual aspects of things. And then I told you, Jaami, the reason that I was able to read and kind of understand the law, which is I know is more of a gift, is the first books that I read were written in Old English, which was actually the first one. Major one was the Bible, because that's the
Right.
book that we had growing up. Back, I'll be 58, Lord willing, in a week and a half. That's the reason. It's not me. And so reading the law and reading Old English, it was just kind of easy. I understood commas. And also I went to school in Biloxi, Mississippi, and I had a pretty tough English teacher. I think it was Mrs. Hickley. But anyway, she made us learn the books of the Bible as part of literature, especially the New Testament in particular. That's why I knew that Matthew, Luke, Mark, Luke, Acts. That's how I knew the sequence of a Bible book. I may have never told you that, but I learned it in seventh or eighth grade in Biloxi, Mississippi. But the background we all had, because most of us grew up. I would think that most people grew up in a family that went to a church. Particularly if you were going to a black church, you had that Bible up in front of you, and we all remember devotion and everything else. But that's kind of how I kind of could understand this stuff. So, and then when it just came to just basic understanding of English or grammar, I mean, candidly, the first language most of us are introduced to was English. So you should have some sort of mastery over the primary language that you speak. And you brought that up as well, even though I have plenty of people who are Muslim, plenty of people who may be Jewish. Uh, so whether you're reading the Quran, the Talmud, or even if you
toward Lemon Fish Drive
or some other stuff, these things will come out and people will, you can utilize it in your journey, is my point. But whatever
Right.
it is, foundation, you should be able to use your foundation to get you where you need to go. You can build on that, Jaami, if you want.
What you said? What's the last thing you just said about building on the foundation?
Whatever it is that you claim to be a part of or not, you should be able to rely on or lean on it whenever your times get tough.
Are you saying basically if something is in you and you have that substance, then that's what you're going to be able. That's going to be a foundation that you're going to be able to use to walk through whatever you got to walk through if it's in you.
I would think, because whether it's military, people want to give me credit for, or what they don't recognize, spiritual part of me, which probably says a lot more about me and what I need to do about myself. But I don't lean on
So
Greg.
let me ask you this: what do you think people are missing? What? Because this has been a long journey. We're at
Yes,
2026 now. So what is it? What is it that is a lot of people not aware of some of the things you just mentioned that you had to walk through or face on your side, being that of course, when you see someone having success or they've achieved a certain level of something, of course, you know that they didn't get there overnight. But do you feel like some people looking for a microwave results like quickly? Then it's going to take a couple rounds of getting in. Like if you're in a boxing match, you got to go full distance. Most of us probably looking for trying to do a KO. But do you have the substance in you to be able to be a Mike Tyson or whoever could get them type of results? Because they got that level of training and professionalism or
I
critique,
think.
ability to carry yourself, or your awareness and what you're dealing with, or we move too, or do we start jumping ahead of where we're at? Not really putting in the work, that we need. Because I look at it like this: if you got someone that already done been a forerunner, and you understand about laying out whatever content and material, because I think one of your strengths is if I talk to you and say, hey, if you was in this situation, what was you do? You have ability to have an discernment so you can pinpoint that exact thing. So that helps me because I don't have to go on a 40-year journey like Israel did if the journey was really a few days, less than 30 days or whatever days, how many days that it should have been, and it turned into 40 years. So I think that you can, teachers and leaders and people that are just a person that done been far up the journey on that path before you had. We had in the same direction, but you done crossed a lot of those paths ahead of time. If I'm able to talk to you, then there's some things that insights I can get so I don't make some of the same, have the same hangups or go through some of the same stuff. Because I always hear you say you didn't have a Greg.
Well, I think that part of it is when it comes like to issue spotting is when it was time for me to be a student, I have to be a student. And that's why I'm reluctant in being a teacher, because I understand there's a great consequence when you are a teacher. or a shepherd, if people want to call it that, and you lead the flock astray. And I don't want to be responsible for leading anybody astray. That's why I tell people, what I'm trying to do is share my experience with people. I think from what I've learned from the people who come to me is they're more captivated by some of the stuff that they've heard people say without the people demonstrating. So I'm actually battling against something that's not even real. And then a lot of people who may have gotten some success will then minimize what the input was from me if they happen to get success coming after meeting me. And I won't say it was because of me, but I'm trying to think they're not realizing is something worked through me to help reach you. And they're missing that part. So they're figuring it ain't Greg. Well, in that sense, you're correct. But then you don't need to be arguing and wrestling with Greg. If you got the answer, you don't need me. And candidly, I don't think you need me anyway. I think what you may need is a source or of information or spiritual guidance that you can lean on to believe in yourself. Because it's not about believing in Greg. Because Greg can't get you there. One day Greg's voice will be silent. And Greg recognizes that. That's why you don't hear me, hey, call me, come see me, or I have some kind of name that you can't just go reach out to and find what I've already done. My biography is out there. The autobiography of Greg is actually out there. Just go to my name and look up all the cases, and you'll see the good, the bad, and the indifferent as it relates to what I've gone through. But all of that stuff has helped build me up. It's kind of like I was telling you, a lot of people didn't know, and Rev, and I got to get Rev on because I got to upload the Bible study he and I did. When I was going through my perjury case, the well, I'll get to the perjury next. We brought the case in front of Judge Farr, and before I went to go see Judge Farr, we went to go see a lady, and she told me something that you said. You said I wasn't going to have to say anything. That part was true. But before I spoke to you about, and I probably only told you today, what she told me was, your ancestors are trying to help you. You just won't get out the way.
Yeah, I didn't remember that part specifically because I was there, but I do remember her saying that when you went to court, you was going to see something.
Yeah, we're not going to.
They was going to, it was like, she was like, they're going to show you something.
Yeah, and they did. I didn't say a word, and for people who don't believe it, what you wouldn't know, and you can go in and just anybody who hears this say, Greg, what case? And I'll just put the link in here. In fact, I might just do it anyway. The Dropbox link to that particular case, and you won't hear me say a word, but I'm standing in front of them at the time. And the case got dismissed for whatever the reasons were. Did I do the other stuff leading up to that part, like the filing and what have you? Yes, of course, people. But on that day, I said no word, and that is recorded. My silence is recorded, as you can hear the dialogue between the judge and the state attorney. In fact, he'll say something about I see you're missing a witness. He's somewhere else. Case dismissed. I turned and walked away. And typically, I always say something like, God bless, and then just walk away. That day I did. I don't know if it was just me in the moment of the realization of what can happen or what it was, but it did happen. You know, I don't, and that's not Greg. Okay. And what I think is lost is that people might think that I think this is about me, or I don't even know what they think. I don't care really. But I think that they're missing the bigger picture. Now, to the perjury case, this is the thing that's most baffling. I told Rev this. When I went to the perjury case on the day that my case was ultimately dismissed, of course, I'm very nervous because I don't even know what's going on at the time. I have no idea what's going on. I know I got the charges. I'm going through this, and I've been going through it for 6 or 7 months. But what happened was the judge was coming in from another place. I knew about that right there, so I didn't think too much about that. And then I was like, okay, what should I do? I didn't know if I was, because meditation is always a thing. But I opened up the Bible, Jaami, and it opened up to a verse. I read the verse and went in the courtroom, got the dismissal that everybody's aware of now, because that's why I didn't go to prison, or one of the reasons why the case was dismissed that day. But I do not remember the scripture, the verse. I just know I opened the book up. I didn't even highlight it, which is typically so, because I searched back through to catch the highlight. I don't remember it to this day. And it bothers me because I would like to be able to tell people that, listen, when I walked in there on that day, this is what the last this is my inspiration walking in. And when I walked out, I was a free man and I didn't have to do those 5 years in prison. You have anything that could explain how that happened, Johnny, that I just totally missed it?
What, the scripture?
Yeah, I just don't remember it at all.
No, I don't had stuff like that happen where I think um I liken it to, people call it bibliomancy, and um it's like you open up, you can take a book, the Bible, any kind of book, and you just open it up, and then the page that it opens to be exactly what you need to say, and you'll know that it'll stand out, and it'll be like a highlighted message. It's almost
Right.
like it's like God speaking to you. You know what I'm saying? If you want to say it in that perspective, and you'll look at it, and you'll have no. It happened to me. Um, New Year's Day, like similar, the same thing. And because I went to, like, typically I, for myself, I don't know what other people do. I bought the New Year I went to like a service, and then I was asked to
Night
I
watch.
didn't know I was going to be asked. I was asked they just called me and said, "Hey, can you read a scripture?" I just took it and I opened it up. It wasn't even my Bible, and when I opened that scripture up, I glanced at it to remember it enough, and I didn't write it down. I didn't highlight it, but when I read it, and when I read it, I knew that it was like, I knew it was highlighted, like what you're talking about. You said you can't even remember, but I could remember some of the psalm that it was that I opened up to, and I remember some of the wording. So I just started, when I got home later and I was thinking about it, I just started searching through, and one exact number I couldn't figure it out, but I end up finding it. Unfortunately, you can't. But yeah, that stuff like that happens.
Mm.
Yeah,
I, I just, it was one of the weirdest things to me in retrospect. And I just tell people, I don't think that I've done a good job. And what's good, JC? I don't think I've done a good job of letting people understand that I've had a lot. I've had help from beyond high, help from beyond the hills to get me through a lot of stuff that I was going through. Because again, another thing I tell people is every one of my every one of my driving cases, I was facing jail time. Every one of them, and you can even hear them bring it up. And I was Marco said I give guys fathers hope on with some child support. I was hoping the bigger message was to the community that we can get things done if we become informed, like the book says, study show thine self approved, you know, and not just as it came to the Bible, but I just think that having a foundation, something to turn to, even when you're flawed, like I know I'm very flawed, I think it's been beneficial, and I wouldn't play with that. I still have to work on me daily. When it comes to this
absolutely.
the court stuff is kind of, it's pretty easy. I don't think very much about that. I understand what I'm dealing with, which goes back to what you said: principalities, flesh and blood, and spiritual wickedness in high places. I don't know if JC working, because I know he has a tendency to be talking to 1,000 people when he's on, but he had his case his situation dismissed, and he's in Florida as well. They just followed the law, which is kind of crazy. I just don't think there's not a lot about this that's complicated. And another thing I want to mention to people is the reason I set my prices where they are is because I am what I would consider a consequence of a person who doesn't want to do any of the grunt work. You want to come directly? Yeah, okay, so here are the prices. I just believe that there's enough out there that, especially coming from, my platform, where you can see me break down cases and do everything else for a very nominal fee. You just have to sit there and go through the time of studying it. It's all factual. The people who ask questions, they typically ask from their cases. Let me see. Hey, Johnny, have you had to unmute yourself. I don't know how you do. Hey,
Yes, sir.
Johnny, you were there. Stop calling me sir. I work for a living. I told you about that. Anyway,
What's up, brother?
but hey, Johnny, when we
Mm-hmm.
first started doing that thing, it was about what, almost 2 years ago, right? When we first started doing those child support basics classes.
For sure.
And
Going on 2 years, if not a full 2 years, definitely going on it.
and would you state, as a person who came into the classes to learn, that we covered almost any number of types of different scenarios in those classes?
I can't think of a topic we haven't talked about, from being married, getting put on child support, from not being properly served. I really can't think of a topic we haven't touched on, to be honest with
Okay, and then even courtroom etiquette was been touched on, right?
you. Yeah, even this topic you're talking on now, we done spoke about getting spiritual, talking to the Most High. Like, we've had those topics. Just seeing this pop up on my timeline or in my email, I'm like, man, I got to get on this because I felt like I've kind of wavered from that. I just was telling my lady, man, I'm going through battles now with this still, even though I've won custody, I got my kids zeroed out ongoing child support, but it's like the arrears still attacking me, and I'm trying to get that situated. It's like, man, I gotta start back praying, getting back focused like I was in the beginning. I won, but it ain't over yet. So yeah, I feel you, my guy.
Now, JC, I don't know if I've ever mentioned Brother Jaami as one of my spiritual guiders, but let me ask you this: what could I have done better to let people know that it wasn't Greg, or that I leaned on something higher or greater than myself? What could I have done better to let people know that I have a Brother Jaami, or I had a Rev out here who I would go to when times are difficult, or just go into the book myself and read myself? What could I have done better?
Is that a question for me or JC?
No, for you, JC. No, not Jaami, for you, JC. What could I have done better when you all were listening to me to help people know that I didn't walk this walk myself, or I'm not some kind of special whatever? I just
When as
Johnny.
far as me, oh, okay, yeah. When you say JC, you was confusing me. I'm not sure, Greg, because like I said, excuse, we've touched that topic before. We've had those conversations, and it made me go pick up my Bible. But I mean, maybe because I've been here with from the beginning with you, Greg, or for like I say, the 2 years. So I'm not sure what you could have done better because it made me go pick up my Bible. We've had those conversations. I've been able to call you and you pick up your phone, and not to brag, but I never paid you a penny, bro. And you picked up the phone for me. You was there when I got out of court. We chopped it up like so. I don't know what you could have done better other than having Bible study. Is that the other than
Oh,
having Bible study? I don't know what you could have did better,
Hey,
Greg.
Greg. So let
Honestly,
me let me let me add
oh,
something to
oh,
what JC
oh,
said.
Jeez, no.
Let me let me
for real.
let me say something to just hearing that brother just say that, man. That's wow. So affirming what he just said of him being on the path. Y'all done covered, certain shows before this coming out of his mouth and what he remembers as well. And then not only that, he's just saying that he was just telling his significant other that, you know what, I got to get back to certain principles and things. And that's the thing about it, right? You can put in all the study, you can be ready for all the court, you got all that stuff, but then we got multiple facets of us, so we can't neglect that spiritual side because it's a unseen spiritual warfare that be going on. We just feel it in this energy, we feel it in this vibration, we feel it in the frequency, just like the radio waves or the way that we able to be on this phone. So that's frequency. You can turn the radio and you switch to different channels. So our vibrational level of where we powered up, whether that's through prayer, whether that's through meditation, whatever ways that you power yourself up to where you become that beacon of light. You know what I'm saying? Like they say, Christ was the light to the world. So you lighting yourself up in your highest capacity to do warfare, to where when you feed your spiritual man, when you feed your spiritual body, and when you nourish that just like you nourish your physical body, then now you're moving, dealing with material things that we see in the physical, but it's an unseen side of stuff. Just like you feel the wind, but you don't see it. So it has an effect. So all of the elements are governed by things that's not even seen. So that's the stuff that's going on that make us see a material actual substance, but before it becomes in the physical form, that's an unseen form that's handling and controlling everything that make it do. So once you start tapping into that part of yourself, that's why I said when we're seated in we're seated in heavenly places in Christ Jesus. That's meaning the Christ and the God that's in you, you empower that. You build it up to the point of the capacity that when you get ready to do war and you have it on the armor of God, wherever you going at. That's what that psalm about that. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thy rod, thy staff are with me. They comfort me. Even in the you make a table, prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. So when you walking in the power of that, that's really what happened when you went into the courtroom. When you went into the courtroom and Yeye told you that you was going to go in there, you weren't going to have to say nothing, and you sat down, she said they're going to show you something. That's what happened. That's what you're talking about when you're saying it's bigger than me. It's bigger than all of us. But are we connected to that part? And sometimes we disconnect. And our brother say, hey, I got to get back to that, because those principles are a union. It's a marriage. It's one. So same way you can neglect your kids, same way you can neglect your wife, same way you can neglect certain relationships, we can't not neglect that spiritual relationship, because that's one of the most important, because everything in life deal with spirituality, period, whether you're aware of it or not. So if you unplug from it, then you just setting yourself up to just deal with stuff just like you being blown around and torn around like the waves tossed, like the sea to and fro. So like I say, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So I don't want to be unstable. I want to be rooted, anchored, and grounded. So we got to ground ourselves into and go back sometime to the basic principles. And that's what I heard that brother just talking about.
And JC,
hey man, bro.
JC is here in Florida, which is so unique in the beginning. So the only issue you have is arrears. Then it goes to something that may be foundational or fundamental, and those are things that we could address. But I think we, like you said, there's not whether it's the 12.285 in the Florida law, what fundamental areas, what abuse of discretion is. And again, I don't say this from the perspective of trying to be an attorney or come across as one. I just hope that I come across as somebody who's otherwise informed and hopefully direct people to the right toward where the information may be. But I guess, Johnny, I was just wondering and talking to Jaami was I not letting them understand that part of your direction has to be in whatever your spiritual compass is, whether it's Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, Taoism, or anything else, or Christianity, of course. Whatever it is, I don't know if I was doing a good enough job, JC, explaining that to the guys that
Family.
came through.
I got a whole, like I told you, I wrote a book after I won my cases. I wrote a book. I put everything together, and I got a whole section in there because of you, family. Like, you have to have spiritual guidance, bro. You're not doing this alone, man. I forgot the motto we used to say. If he's with me, who can be against me? That's got to be your mindset going in there. If you know you prayed up, you have to have your mindset right. I still get the chills going in the courtroom. I still get nervous, but I try to stay prayed up. I try to be like, man, if he with me, who could be against me? So yeah, bro, I think you did a solid job, man. I think people go listen to what they want to listen to, and I heard it. I heard it from the beginning when you were speaking on. I'm like, yeah, I gotta get more spiritually sound, man. I gotta get prayed up, because it ain't me I'm fighting for. I'm fighting for my kids, and I don't know. And then since then, I've been helping other people, and my dad was telling me like, man, you helping people. You have to get back into praying, son. You got to get back solid because you got to make sure these people that you touching is the right people. How you gonna know that you helping the right people? How you gonna know that? And man, it is so drained. So many parents are so loud. And bro, it's been a blessing finding you, man. I've helped so many dads since meeting you. Get split custody, get the child support, Lord, get off that. Oh, it's all fried. This is how you go on the courtroom. Man, I had a dad. Oh man, that's a whole nother story for another day. But bro, you've been a blessing, bro. It's they go hear what they want to hear, and I don't know what. Like I said, I don't know what more better you could have did other than literally having Bible study. Like we talked on the topics of being spiritually sound. Like I say, if he's with me, who could be against me? I got that from being in these groups, knowing like, man, I got to tighten up. So I think you did a solid job, bro. I really do. I really do.
Well, I appreciate that. We have a few more minutes while I wrap up because I did this more impromptu, and I was talking to Jaami. I was like, there's some things, and we did the first one on the podcast. If you get a chance, anybody listening to this podcast, first thing I guess I just said at the beginning. I don't say this. I wasn't even used to. Please like and subscribe to the channel. But if nothing else, definitely go to at Jaami on YouTube, as you see on the screen. Join him. Watch his we put more content on his channel, but getting him to help people in the way that he's helped me. Not only him, but getting Rev on. I gotta get Rev on, who walked with me and kept me from being one of these movies, one of these movies. Because bro, I'm up to here with some of these people, bro, and also the Most High for giving me the parents and the children that I love dearly. Because otherwise, I wouldn't care at all. I give them everybody something to talk about. Like that song is giving something to talk about. I give y'all something to talk about. But I have to try to follow what he's given me the ability to do. But go ahead, Jaami. Anything? We got about 6-7 minutes, and then I'm gonna give JC. Well, before you close us out, Jaami, let me give JC another chance. JC, on closing out, any shouts out, JC, that you want to give before I get us out of here?
Oh man, I just appreciate you, Greg. And then we're giving shout outs. I got a Facebook page, Child Support Victory, man. I've been trying to follow in your path, man, helping dads, helping moms, helping anybody in this scenario. So, man, I appreciate what you did, man. You're a blessing, bro, for real.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. God bless. Hug the kids for me, bro.
For sure.
Brother Jaami.
Oh man, just good. On this journey of so many people's life that you've been impacting. This 10 plus 15 years that we've been journeying on this path and our paths cross. Definitely everything I feel like is always a divine connections. It's never by chance. It's seasons and things. Sometimes people in your life for long term, some just seasonal and short term relationships. So the Creator Most High have had us paths cross for a reason. It's always good and enlightening to hear other brothers like JC and just be on so many of those claws from years back and then even up until now. And it's the same need. I hear the same appreciation. It's the same. I don't know what other people do, but he just said it. You ain't asking him to say it. It wasn't scripted. You ain't even know if he was available to gonna be able to come on. But I don't even remember talking to this brother before myself, but just I love to hear what they say of their own testimony of your character, you as a being, a human being, and what you experience. Man said you ain't charging nothing. I know myself. You drive different places and support people wherever they at. You say you're gonna be something. One thing I know about you, your word is your bond. You don't talk, and you don't have to pick up your phone, but you do. You know what I'm saying? So, and how many of the people that y'all have dealt with that made it led you to Greg that don't pick up their phone, that connect with you and then you can't reach them and it's by email, they're not available. So this man always making himself available. So I appreciate it. Continue to hear these stories of the empowerment, the upliftment, and the appreciation for these brothers, man, and hopefully to keep you continue to do what you're doing, regardless of some of the few that may have gripes or whatever, but that's going to be a part of it, man. You're going to have bad apples in the bunch. So you got the wheats must grow up with the tares. The Bible says the wheat shall grow up with the tares, and at harvest time, they will be separated. So it's expected. They're going to do what they do. So you just do what you do.
Okay, and then they can find you. Of course, they see it above my head, but this is your.
Oh yeah,
Power.
I'm Brother Jaami, Proverbs 27:17 podcast. Iron Sharpening Iron. We just building the community one conversation at a time, and we're going beyond the call, man. So let's reach out, connect, and let's do this thing together.
Absolutely, because it's always about doing it together. And I'll say this: I appreciate those who did come in and check out the this impromptu session. We can do plenty of others. If there's a topic or what have you that I can address, please let me know. Or something that you want to get to Brother Jaami, again, you can go to @Jaami. Is at Brother Jaami on YouTube. I'm gonna put it inside the chat room right here if you want to check out my brother. I'm typing it in right now. On YouTube. And do you have a Instagram and Facebook or anything else, Jaami, they can get you at?
I do. I just don't. I'm moving around right now, so I don't have those where I can just tell you what they are right off the cap. But yeah, I do have all that as well.
Look for them, and if you happen to also need any kind of pressure washing for your properties, you're in the Sarasota, Manatee, Tampa area, or the Hillsborough, Manatee, Sarasota area. Go to Total Household Solutions. That's the same Jimmy Holmes at Total Household Solutions, and let them help you out. That being said, and as always in closing, well, before I get to that, hopefully what I needed to say was said today, and if it wasn't, it's my fault. I'll continue to work on me on getting out the message to let people know that it's never been about Greg. Greg is just the pawn or the moving vessel towards something that was much bigger. I'm not even I don't think a forerunner. The forerunners were the many who came before me, the many men who came before me. You know what? And I'm speaking of the Malcolms, the Martins, the Malcolms, the Medgar Evers, the whether even Elijah Muhammad, the Farrakhan, the Jesse Jacksons, the numbers, and the ultimate brother, whose name they changed from Yahshua to Jesus, much greater men than me, and they all were willing to deal with whatever the consequences were of standing up. And it's always imparting. Sometimes it's not about right or wrong. More importantly, it's about clarity. You never reach resolution if you're not willing to engage in honest dialogue, even if that dialogue is with yourself. Take time to hug the person you love and love the person you hug. On behalf of Brother Jaami's, the Proverbs 27:17 podcast, shout out to my man JC Johnny Casey for stepping in. My name is Greg Doss. I'm also known as, well, my given name is Shagret. Greg Dawson, of course, I am the infamous DJ Squid. I'm saying peace. I'm saying chicken grease. God bless. Shout out to the veterans.